Anandakaram Brashanam Jnaneshwarupam Nidyabodarupam Anandamanam.
Hello, and welcome to Life on the Path of Kriya Yoga. This is episode number 2 of our podcast, and we hope episode number 2 of many. And what we do in this podcast is we interview folks from all walks of life who are practicing Kriya Yoga and sharing with us what it means to be a Kriya Yogi. I'm Mark Smith-Eisler, here with my wife and co-host, Maitri Smith-Eisler. And Maitri, what do you think? Are you ready for today's guest?
Yeah, I've been looking forward to it.
Yes, as have I. And so I'm wondering if we can kind of get people to play a little guessing game here. If you had to sum up our guest in 5 words, what would those 5 words be?
Well, let's see. Creative, deep soul.
That's actually
great,
2 words.
Great, well, how about 5 phrases? That would be
Okay.
better.
All right. 5 phrases. We'll go
okay.
with 5 phrases.
Great sense of humor, flow guy, clear, calm, joyful, quiet, good listening, quick learner, tenacious, spiritual seeker. I know that's more than 5, but it's hard
That's more than 5.
It's hard to put him in just 5 words.
Okay, yeah, well, that was certainly more than 5 words, but I think I agree with you on all of those. Those are great descriptions of our guest.
Wait.
Yeah?
I do think I'm missing something. I need to say a few more words.
Okay.
Our special guest, he's on the airplane route to God. It's a supersonic vehicle, I think. Mm-hmm. He's just a babe in years on the path, but he dived deep quickly. And you know, he must have built up some spiritual equity or something, because he seems to have great karma for being in the right place at the right time with the resources and freedom to catch the flight and take it. That's the most important thing. Not just get it, take it. And we're going to go more in depth with this journey he's been on these last couple of years on this podcast. So I want to introduce our dear friend, Atul Wadhwa. Thank you for joining us.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, our friend, for coming with us.
Oh, thank you for having me. That intro was amazing. I have tears in my eyes from laughing so hard.
Lots of work went into that.
But no, that was fun. It's really nice to be here. Thanks for having me.
All right. Well, we are pleased as well to have you here on the podcast. And let's just dive in. You know, one of the things that we find most inspiring is when people just talk about give their story about how they came to the path of Kriya Yoga. So that's my first question to you is, how did you come to the path of Kriya Yoga?
So for me, I was already into meditation and pranayama, starting in about 2020, 2021. And at that time I was seeking a path or a teacher of some sort, and I had different opportunities arising, and really I connected with the concept of Kriya. Came about from a teacher that I discovered in Hawaii. I was visiting a friend there, and I spent 2 weeks at an ashram practicing yoga with one of the teachers there, or the teacher there. And the concept of Kriya came up at that time, and he gave me a book, a particular book that was called something along the lines of Kriya and Yoga. And so that aroused something within me, knowing that I need to explore. And when I came back to Houston, all I was doing was searching for that type of teacher in Houston. And I kept looking, and there was nobody talking about Kriya in Houston, and it just wasn't even around. And then I did read the autobiography of a yogi later on, and that book mentioned it several times, and so the interest went even deeper and deeper. So I knew I had to find a path that would, in the end, take me to Kriya, but I wasn't sure what that was, and I wasn't sure if a particular teacher in Houston could give that to me, provide that for me. Um,
I just want to jump in here for a moment.
yeah,
So there's a couple of things tangential to that,
sure.
your explanation. One is, so you said 2021, you first heard about Kriya Yoga,
Yeah.
but what brought you into even the yoga world? Because I
Mm.
happen to know that you had a very interesting background before that, if you wouldn't mind sharing. And then the other one would be, well, how'd you find the AY?
Yeah, yeah, good question. So, I found the yoga world because I was on a healing journey. Actually, in 2018, 2019, I was going through a lot of physical and mental issues. I had a lot of health problems and was going to doctors back and forth trying to figure out what was wrong. And the doctors really had no answer for me. And in the end, what became my lifeboat, the thing that healed me was meditation. I discovered meditation, and that's where I found my healing. And I knew once I found that, I knew that I needed to go deeper into meditation. And I took a year off from work in 2021. I took a sabbatical to go deeper into meditation and see where that leads me. And in 2021, that's when I discovered the the yoga teacher in Hawaii, who, when I came back from Hawaii, sent me sort of searching farther. But yeah, it was a healing journey for me, and that's what got me into the path of yoga and meditation. And then
And how'd you find the AY? Yeah,
how
go
did I
ahead.
find AY? Actually, funny enough, I was at a restaurant and I became friends with the bartender. I would eat at the restaurant often, and she was really sweet soul, very spiritual, and so we started having spiritual discussions. Her mom was a yogi, and then she mentioned, "Hey, you should read the AY." And at that time, I don't think I got the book right away. I think it took some time for me to get it. And then it actually took me the second time to get into it, because the first time I read it, I had not been, I couldn't fathom the miracles that were happening in the book, and I just put the book down. And then after I spent a year getting into meditation more, which was sort of 2021 and onward. And then I read the book again I picked the book up again in 2022. That's when it resonated more deeply. And
Yeah.
that's where the concept of tying it all back together, the concept of Kriya, just sort of pulled me in that direction even more. And,
Well, in 2022, that brings us to almost, at least, maybe there's a gap in between there, but where we first met you was when Asha Nayaswami was doing the tour of Texas, as we called it, and she did several sessions down in Austin, and you were there, and you were very engaged and attentive
yeah.
attendee, student. So I'm wondering how you became aware of that,
Yeah.
those seminars, and what brought you there.
So I visited Ananda Village I think it was around August and September of 2022. I was on vacation with my parents and my brother in San Francisco. And after that vacation, I wanted to stay in California by myself and explore the yoga meditation world, because I knew there were some good teachers out there, and I knew there was a lot happening in California as far as those practices go. So I stayed after, and I didn't make any plans though. So I thought I'd just go with the flow. And I started searching online after my parents and my brother had left, so I was just by myself now. And I started searching online as far as where I could go to learn more about yoga and meditation. And the thing about it was that a lot of the centers, like for example, Lake Shrine, or I can't remember some of the other names, but I was looking at different retreat centers and also just yoga and meditation studios and trying to connect with different people. But a lot of the things were very restrictive, because COVID had just sort of gone into the background and things were starting to open up a little bit. So there was restrictions, and it wasn't easy to just sign up and show up. You know what I mean? Or just show up. So once I realized that, I thought it'd be too difficult for me to rent a car and bounce around, go into all these different places in the hopes of getting in. Anyways, long story short, I found when I was searching yoga and meditation online, I found Ananda Village. And I thought, okay, this seems like a place I can just go to and be at for, the next 8 days and not have to worry about going from one place to another. And I can be absorbed in the yoga meditation world, and I'll just see what it leads to. And little did I know it was much more than just yoga and meditation I was getting into. And so that's how I discovered Ananda Village. I spent 8 days there. And then while I was there during that time, someone mentioned that Asha Nayaswami was coming to Texas, and that you should go see her when she's in Texas. And as she was coming to a yoga retreat that I was already thinking about going to, and I had a teacher who was going to be teaching there that I wanted to go see, and then so I was already thinking about going, and it just aligned, and I realized, okay, I need to go. And when I went, that's when it was I really resonated. Heard Asha speak for the first time, and really connected with everything she was saying. And I had a lot of questions, and I just thought she was the most fascinating person I had ever met. And that's when I met you guys, as you mentioned. And then Maitri just put a leash on me. And
We joke about that.
We joke about that a lot. It was a very nice leash, and it's been very, very gentle. And she's always given me these little love nudges of, hey, you should go do this, or you should do that, and you should think about this, and really just and then that's how everything came together for me. And basically I went because of Maitri again, she said I should go to Inner Renewal Week at Ananda. That was, I believe, in February of 2023. And
Right.
And once I went there, I mean, everything just felt like home, and I ended up taking the discipleship vow there.
I think
so-
it's so. Oh, I think it's
Go
so
ahead.
interesting that there's when we first get on the spiritual path, it's a sort of a common phenomenon of a lot of synchronistic kind of things happen that. As we continue on, we see was, just that sense of it was meant to be all along. It's just so interesting. But the bottom line that I hear you say is that deep yearning.
Mm-hmm.
And that
Mm-hmm.
is what putting that, we often talk about that in our teachings of Kriya Yoga as that part of, we have to put our energy into it. We have to meet God's grace.
Yeah.
Cooperating with God's grace in order to draw and magnetize those circumstances. And it just was beautiful how that unfolded for you.
Yeah, and that's the right way to put it. I mean, looking back, you're right. I mean, it was a deep yearning, and it still is a deep yearning, but that's what kept pulling me forward. So I'm grateful for the leash. Thank you.
Just a channel for that leash.
So I'm wondering if you could go just a little bit deeper into what your experience was of being at that Inner Renewal Week in, I guess it was 2023, early 2023, and making the decision while you were there to go ahead and take discipleship. And that's, for a lot of people, that's not an easy decision to make. So if you could go into a little more depth about that experience.
Yeah, so, as Maitri was talking about, the synchronicities come into play, and that certainly happened for me. There was just a lot of synchronicities, and I had a deep yearning. And, I think the masters and God, they speak to us in our own unique ways. And I'm really into nature photography, especially at that time. Mm-hmm. And so they were just photography more so in general now, but at that time more nature. But it was, so they were speaking to me through my photography, through the nature scene at Sunset Ridge. And those were the little things that, looking back, really hooked me. But then the bigger picture for me at that time, looking back, was just the sense of being home. I had never had that feeling before, and I had many moments at Inner Renewal Week where I had, tears in my eyes, and I didn't know why. And it wasn't tears of sadness; it was tears of knowing I was home. And I think hearing Jyotish and Devi speak, when I heard them speak on the stage, I had a sense of these are my spiritual parents, and this is where I belong. So those types of things. And then overall, just I've never met so many people from so many different backgrounds who come together in the way that it happens at Ananda Village. And I just knew that this is where I belong.
And it was wonderful too. I'll just share this from my perspective. You talked about Jyotish and Devi as kind of being like your spiritual parents, and they were the ones to initiate you into, or not to initiate you, but to do the discipleship vow with you in the St. Francis Chapel there, right on the grounds of Crystal Clarity, not Crystal Clarity,
Crystal Hermitage,
Crystal Hermitage, and it was Crystal something. But anyway, I just, it was a beautiful experience, and from, I think, all of our, from everybody's viewpoint, it was a blessed experience for us to be a part of it. So, that was special for us as well.
Yeah, that was really nice and very special to have you guys there. And a lot of people just kind of looked at me like, wait a minute, you just had Jyotish and Devi do your discipleship. And
not everybody's that lucky.
I remember that so clearly. After we had gathered folks there, the Texas group, to have a special satsang with Nayaswami's Jyotish and Devi, who are the spiritual directors, for in case there's somebody that's watching that's not clear on that. They're the spiritual directors of Ananda worldwide. And we just had this very intimate gathering of about a dozen people from Texas. And they asked this question as we were going around, so what are your next steps? And it came to Atul, and he said, I'm going to take discipleship. And everybody went, whoa, that was just like so cool. And so afterwards, Atul and there was one other person, the gal who was sort of coordinating guest services with us in the meeting, we all gathered with you outside is what I recall. And we were just like, okay, so you want discipleship. This is a great time to do it, a great place to do it. The energy's wonderful. So, here's your options. You can ask basically any minister you want. It could be me, it could be, anybody you want. And, so who would you like? And you just sort of blurted out, well, Jyotish and Devi. And we just like, do you know what you're asking for?
And I didn't know what I was asking. That's the thing.
And you're just this flow guy, and you're just your heart was open, and you just went, and Divine Mother just says, ask and you shall receive. And that's what happened. It was beautiful.
No, and I was very grateful, especially after learning the significance of having them do my discipleship, because when I asked it, I genuinely didn't know the significance of that, because that was my first time, from what I recall, hearing them speak live in person. And I knew they were, important in Ananda, but I didn't know they were the spiritual directors. So I didn't really know the significance of who they were. But anyway, so I'm glad I didn't know, because otherwise I don't think this would have happened.
I'm glad you were able to ask the question. And I think, from their viewpoint, I can only think that they, kind of had a reaction like Master did when Swami Kriyananda asked to be his disciple. They just went, you have good karma. So we'll do it.
I will take it. Yeah, that was a deep, deep blessing. And I'm really grateful that you guys were there. I still remember just the little photos that were taken that you shared, and then just y'all were chanting with the harmonium there, and it was really special. Thank you.
It was special. It was special for all of us.
So I'd kind of like to segue here a little bit, because you've been doing a lot of stuff with, you've been, as Maitri mentioned you're kind of on the airplane route to God, as Yogananda put it. It's been a real whirlwind for you, and I'd like to go back to the time where you were in Austin attending Asha's workshops there in Austin, and I think it was after most of the bulk of the sessions were over, and there was one last session in Austin, and you'd asked a lot of questions in all the sessions up to that time, and Asha got to the point in her talk where she says, "So, what questions do you have?" And she looked out, and sure enough, your hand was up, and she went, "Atul, I knew I could count on you. I need to take you with me everywhere I go." Well, that is apparently coming to pass, as you've been traveling with Asha and doing some work, of course, but how is that? How is that going for you?
Well, and how did it unfold?
Yeah, how did that unfold, and how's it going for you?
Yeah, so it actually, it came to fruition, and I was surprised when basically, let's see, how did it happen? Okay, so it was at Spiritual Renewal Week. And we had
a year ago, right? Just a year ago.
Yeah, not this spiritual.
So
yeah.
So you found out about Ananda in, what'd you say?
In August and September
Right.
of 2022. Then I took discipleship in February of 2023. Then Spiritual Renewal Week was in June, July of 2023, and that's where I think someone from the Texas group had organized a lunch with Asha.
Yeah.
Right?
I did.
Yeah, exactly. So see, Maitri keeps and Maitri had pushed me to go to Inner Renewal Week and to and just all these different things, and that made me want to go to Spiritual Renewal Week. And so I'm glad I went to Inner Renewal Week, and I'm glad I went to Spiritual Renewal Week because basically what happened there was we had a lunch with Asha after one of her talks, the Texas group, and she mentioned that she was looking for a videographer for her travels, to someone to come along and do video for her. And then some of the people there just kind of pointed at me because I don't know why they thought I could do video, apparently. I mean, I'm in the
They knew you were a good photographer.
Exactly.
Because you are very creative.
Exactly. They knew you had a good eye.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
I think that was it. And more than that, I think they knew I was sort of in transition and had freedom and flexibility to be able to travel. And so right there, it kind of connected. And Asha said, "If you're being serious, we should talk." And then one thing led to another, and it actually aligned, and we started traveling. We took our first. Asha took me for the first time in October of 2023 when we went to Europe. And
Was it difficult to make that decision to travel with Asha? I mean, that's no small thing to just say, "Okay, I'm going to drop everything and go on the road with a spiritual teacher."
Actually, so for me, it wasn't difficult because I had the deep yearning. I was looking for a teacher, and everybody kept saying that this was a big blessing and that this is the closest experience you can have to being with Swamiji. And so in that regard, it wasn't difficult. And I was already in transition in my career. I knew I was looking for the next thing to do. And I think one of the practical things that I had to think about was who's going to take care of my cats. And
Of course.
That's a big one. That's a big one.
So that was the biggest thing I had to work through, is how are my cats going to be taken care of while I'm traveling. And I was lucky to align that up. Everything aligned there, and it just worked out, and I was able to travel.
Wonderful. So, any stories or inspirations, any moments, epiphanies, truths, teachings during that time with Asha? Anything that stands out for you? Because you've been on a few trips with her now at this point.
Yeah. There's a lot. So I'll try to think of some of the bigger things, and then a few detailed stories maybe. Let's see. So, people said it's going to be like traveling with Swamiji. And it does feel that way. And the biggest thing about it, as I relate the two, is that it is a flow of energy that you get into, and you're sort of how do you put it? You're basically you don't know where you're going to wake up next. And we're just really in a different place very frequently. So your energy just has to be able to flow and with the rest of the flow of energy. And that's sort of what it feels like. It took some time to adjust to that and get used to it. But now when I come back to Houston, I also feel the same way. It feels very you can actually catch that wave, I guess so to speak. But aside from that, the part about it that really surprised me, but also didn't surprise me, is that we just had a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun to be around Asha and to be around other devotees and people who have been in Ananda for so long, and you can feel them, their vibrations helping you raise your vibration, and it's sort of automatic. And so even though it sometimes you could feel like the work could be exhausting or tiring, it's the vibration that just really it carries you higher and higher. And along those lines, the work that I do for Asha, the video recording, every time I listen to one of her talks and I get through recording, I don't feel tired. I feel uplifted. And there have been times where, you can't sleep at night because you have so much energy from the evening talk. And so there is something very special about being in that vibration. And so I think that's been a big part of it. And then let's see. So just joyful flow of energy, I guess, to sum that up. It's just a joyful flow of energy. And then the second part of it, I would say, is this was sort of a side effect of traveling with Asha, which I didn't expect, was the music. So I get to be roommates with Dambara, and he's an amazing musician. And everywhere he goes, he brings his guitar and his voice, and he just oftentimes there's very spontaneous moments that he'll start singing, but other times it's putting on musical performances before, in between, and after the Asha's talks. And being immersed in that music, at first it was like, okay, I don't really know about this music because I'd never heard it before. And I was like, what is this? Some of these songs were just really out there for me. So, but being forced to listen to them actually got me to a point where now I enjoy hearing them. And it has really shifted my perspective on the music and just showed me how powerful it really is. And the aspect of music, being a part of Ananda, so traveling with Asha and Dambara and being immersed in the music has really helped me elevate my consciousness and just go deeper on the path and recognizing the importance of music on the path in general. And along those lines, so one of the projects that has come about due to the inspiration of the music, I'm not sure if I've even shared this with you guys yet because we're just kind of telling people as it comes up. But it's a new Instagram page we've started. It's called Ananda Music Everywhere. I don't know.
I saw it. I saw it. Yeah. I saw Dambara in a canoe.
Yeah.
Doing a chant or something.
In a canoe.
So I filmed that. And basically what happened was, while I was on these trips with Asha and Dambara, I was capturing all of these very special moments of music, and I didn't know where they were going to be put. And, they were just very inspiring musical moments from around the world. And then eventually the idea came that we should put these somewhere. And
That's great.
And Asha came up with the name Ananda Music Everywhere. And so we just created an Instagram page where we're sharing all of these musical moments. And it's just to show that really the music for Ananda is everywhere. It literally is everywhere. Everywhere you go, and you'll find Ananda centers playing the same music. And then the next part of it is that that was surprising for me, was to go from one place to another to find that they're all playing the same chant but in a different language. And that was really cool. So I got to learn a few chants in Italian, Spanish, and Hindi. And that's been very special to me to just see how the same music can go across continents and transform people's consciousness. And so that's also the inspiration behind Ananda Music Everywhere. So
Oh, that's great.
beautiful.
And we need to get you to write down some of those chants in Spanish and Hindi, because we can always
Dambara's working on it. He's really
okay.
yeah, he really got into the Spanish side of things when we were there, and he was very motivated to do the chants in Spanish. So I think all of that is from what I understand, it's in the pipeline.
Oh, great.
Right.
Fantastic.
I remember that when Asha was here and she did her little tour of Texas with us, one of the takeaways for me was just what you had said, that she said Swami, one of the ways that Swami defined Ananda was to have fun.
Yeah.
We have fun.
Yeah.
And bringing Divine Mother into that, of course, it's not just willy-nilly, but a conscious, Divine Mother, have fun with Divine Mother. So, and that's great. And it really is. That's a defining part about Ananda, is that it's a creative, fun expression of Yogananda's teachings with all of the very serious things too.
Right.
But it's part of the energy being more uplifting is to do that. So back to the music though for a moment. I think that's a real major point, because a lot of people that component of the chanting and the music can be a bit of a barrier in the beginning. And yet if you can get beyond that barrier and open yourself to it, it can be one of those additional engines to help deepen.
And I will attest to that 100%, because I had a barrier up in the beginning, because chanting was all new to me and it kind of felt strange. I remember going to Ananda Village and being in the temple and all these people chanting all this music together, and I was to a certain extent I was shut off. But then as soon as I broke past that barrier and allowed myself to just see where the music takes me, I started to feel and understand the power of it. So
is there anything you can say about how you actually were able to open to it a little bit more? Or?
I think for me it was putting myself more in those environments. So I was actively seeking people doing kirtans and things of that nature, because I knew that, okay, they're doing these kirtans for a reason. There's something there, and I also just knew within myself that I had a barrier, so that I needed to work through, and it was more just putting myself in those situations and exploring. It was just exploring and being
open and curious.
Being open and curious, like those little kirtans that you put on, informal kirtans at Lahiri Temple. If you remember those had a really deep, meaningful impact for me, and because that's where I was just starting to really understand the power of chanting, and why chanting, as Master says, is half the battle. And so
I'd kind of like to step back a little bit and ask you, you've touched on a couple of things lessons that you kind of learned through your travels and through other things that have happened with you since becoming a disciple. But I'm wondering, you talked about flow, and you talked about the music, and you talked about being with people of high spiritual caliber, and maybe not things that we can all avail ourselves of all the time. But I'm wondering, any insights or lessons you might have from going on the road and doing some of these higher experiences that can be applied to everyday life?
I think it's truly just a gift to be able to be around these types of people who have been on the path for so long and are deeply spiritual. So I think people, if they recognize the gift when it's there, then they can tap into, they can actually be receptive rather than being intimidated. So that's the way I saw it. I sort of saw it as a gift. And I told myself that there's no reason to be scared of this experience. You're being given an opportunity to uplift your consciousness by being around these people. And so I embraced it as that. And I think that allowed me to receive. So it's the same thing on a daily basis. It's when you are presented with something, in my mind, that seems like it's sort of beyond you, rather than shutting it out and being intimidated, saying, could this teach me something? And could I expand from this? And
it's an opportunity to expand.
Opportunity to expand. So see it as a gift rather than as an obstacle. And I think that's something we can all do. And then the second thing would be, I'm touched on this basically, is to participate, show up and participate. Be curious.
Yeah.
Be curious and explore. Say yes to things that are presented to you when you're on the path. For example, Maitri nudging me and lovingly nudging me to do many things, but one that I vividly remember, to go to Inner Renewal Week. And I think I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to make it. But then everything just aligned, and I went, and when I went, I participated, and that's when that's all I did. I just went to participate. I had no expectations. I had no idea that I would become a disciple. I was quite surprised myself. But it all happened because I opened myself up and participated. So along those lines, it's just something on a day-to-day basis. I think just participate, show up and participate.
And drop expectations.
Yeah.
I think that's a great lesson right there.
So you were led ultimately to become a Kriya Yogi, and that happened, last fall? Was that when it happened?
Yeah, it was in October of 2023. Yeah.
Yeah. And so how would you say, have things shifted or not shifted, or what's life now that you are officially? I mean, you had quite a storied entrance into becoming a Kriyaban, and I'm just wondering what it's like now.
So I had been, as I mentioned, I had been practicing meditation already for a few years, since about 2020, and fairly regularly since 2021. And when I came on the path, you sort of get that feeling that I already know everything. I felt like, what else is there to learn about meditation? I've already been meditating for this long, and and little did I know, how much I didn't know. It was very surprising to me, and I came on the path and started learning the techniques, and then eventually Kriya Yoga, and that accelerated my meditations well beyond I would have imagined. And I know I couldn't have done it on my own. That's where I started understanding really the power of the path and the teachings and the gurus. And so it took my meditation a whole lot deeper, and actually showed me, I still remember this vividly, which was that when I heard meditation described for the first time in the first class leading up to Kriya, which was Lessons in Meditation, from what I remember, it was described in a way that I had never heard it before. And that really stuck with me. And then to hear it described that way, but then to actually go into the practice and see it unfold that way, it was very thrilling.
How was it described?
So it was basically, I'll have to remember this. Let's see if I can. But basically, it was finding. Okay, I know it was interiorization and expansion. I'm trying to remember the third part. But interiorization,
absorption.
It first was stillness. I think it was coming to stillness, just making sure you're the state of calmness and finding a good posture. Second was interiorizing. Third was expansion. And I remember that Master described it as there's outer space exploration, but then meditation is your inner space exploration. And that just hit home for me, because it just showed me that, it told me that there's way more to meditation and our interior world than we think. So Kriya Yoga helped me discover that interior world, and it led to a state of interior expansion, which sounds like a oxymoron, but it was an inward expansion, I guess you could put it that way. Inward expansion. And so that's one thing I'll touch on. And then the second would be, I think I might have touched on this with Maitri in a conversation we had, but I remember when I was practicing meditation on my own, and I was just seeking peace. I was just seeking peace of mind. That was it. I just wanted to, my mind be still and not be bothered by the things around me and that sort of thing, because we live in this chaotic world. And so I was just seeking peace. And then, but what Kriya Yoga did for me is it took that peace component and it took it to the next level, which is love and joy in my heart. And I didn't know that I could feel that, and it's been beautiful and just truly a gift to be able to feel that, and just grateful.
Great.
So, any other changes that you've seen in yourself since being on the Path of Kriya?
Oh, there's many. So feeling love and joy in my heart, that's the first.
That's huge.
And just wanting to share it with everyone. And then the others would be Kriya. People have said this, but to experience it for yourself is different, where your bad habits start to sort of just drop away. They seem to fade in the background. And so that's happened for me to a large extent. Still working through some things, obviously we all are, but it's been incredible to see that change, where Kriya helps you get past those bad habits. And then I would say greater clarity of mind, and just more energy to do things, and having an uplifted state of consciousness as we're doing things. And I felt all of those things happening, and it's just it's been really a gift. And then what else? I think that's a good. You could say your whole life changes on Kriya Yoga. Really, if you look at me, a few years ago, totally different person versus where I am now. So it totally, if you allow it to, it will transform your life. I'll just say that.
Yeah. There's the well-known story of disciples going to Lahiri Mahasaya and saying, coming to him with all kinds of problems and saying, Master, what do I do about this? What do I do about this? What about this? And his answer was always, do more Kriya.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering if you're finding that that's true in your own life. 100%.
100%. So it's yesterday. I'll just use yesterday as an example. I've had some, I guess, a little bit less energy than I'm typically used to having. And I think it was many factors, but I think I'd just been out in the sun too much, reflecting back on it. And anyways, yesterday, I just decided to do more Kriya than I typically do. And I feel the shift in me today, so it's sort of, I don't know if I can give all credit to the Kriya, but I think there's a good correlation there. And so, I do see it, and I just use it whenever I need to.
So what's next for Atul?
What's next?
Did I say that correctly? Did I pronounce your name correctly? You always have this thing.
You said it very well.
Okay.
And what's next is just honestly going with the flow and I wish I could say more, but one of the things that I've learned with being with Asha is try to live moment by moment, and let Divine Mother guide you with her loving hand, and that's sort of what I'm doing. And we'll see where it takes me. But as far as immediate next things coming up, we have another trip to Europe coming up, and that's in September, October, November. Asha will be going to Spain for a month, then we'll be in Italy, and then Finland, France, and many other countries throughout Europe. And that'll be, almost 3 months total. So I will be doing the videography and that sort of thing there.
Back at home, you're the co-meditation leader of a fledgling meditation group, Ananda Houston, which I will be honest, I don't think that would have happened without your willingness and even though you've been gone a lot, you've brought so much to keep the energy going, along with Sonia, who is the other leader. And maybe you could say just a little bit about what's happening in Houston for folks if they're searching.
Yeah. And I'll just say, I don't think it would have happened without your loving nudges.
Okay.
She's good at those.
She's really good at it. It's a gift. So let's see. So what's going on? Basically, we meet about once a month in various locations for group meditation. And that's our regular thing. And, we've had some recent cancellations due to just not good weather in Houston. We had a hurricane come through here just, last weekend. And so
just a hurricane.
And so we had to cancel that one. But anyways, we'll hope to be back on track this next month. And then what's been great is having the collaboration that we have with you guys in Dallas, and having you come into town. And so y'all are coming August 23rd weekend, and we'll do a big program that weekend with public outreach and that sort of thing. And we're really looking forward to that. And
on Om.
On Om,
right?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, the power of Om. And we'll be doing a workshop that you guys will be doing, and basically we'll do that. We'll have a kirtan the first night. Friday evening we'll have a kirtan. Saturday we'll do the workshop and go out to lunch, because if I've learned anything from Maitri, you have to finish everything with food.
Jal Yoga.
It's the Ananda way.
It's the Ananda way. And then Sunday we will have an informal kirtan open to everybody, and followed by food again.
And so if someone is wanting to get more information or to refresh their memories about all these details, where would they go on the web to or on Instagram or wherever to find out? AnandaHouston.org. And then for Instagram, you can look us up. It's ananda.houston. So you can message us there and get information there. But if you go to the website, you'll find the email. Send us an email, and we'll let you know what's going on. Okay, terrific. So, Maitri, did you have anything else you wanted to ask before we wrap it up here?
I do.
Okay.
I
thought you might.
As you all both know, I'm sort of into my little gameplay, wordplay, and we started out with 5 phrases or words that describe the tool. I'd like to end with asking you, Atul, can you describe in 5 words
or
the
5
Path
phrases
of Kriya Yoga?
Yes, let's
for you.
see.
What it means for you.
Yeah, for me. Let's see. Okay, Path of Kriya, define in 5 words. Okay, expansion, joy, love, liberation, and music.
Ah, beautiful.
Is that 5? I think that was 5. I was counting.
I think
that was 5.
Yeah.
That was 5.
Yeah.
Music made 5, and I think that's a great one to end with.
Yeah.
So, if there's nothing else, I'd just like to say that we've enjoyed this time with you, and as we always do when we're together, But I'd just like to finish up with our listeners and letting them know that if they're interested in seeing any more of what's going on with Ananda in Texas, we have groups here in Dallas and in Houston and in Austin, and they all have various things going on. And you can find out about all that if you go to our website at anandaintexas.org. And I can't remember what our Instagram is, so I'm not going to worry about that one too much.
And you just put in Ananda, Texas, and it'll come up for all
on
those
Instagram.
stuff. Okay.
Well,
and
very good.
Also our official website is anandatexas.org, not in Texas.
Oh, not Ananda in Texas. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. All right. So, okay. Anyway. AnandaTexas.org. So let's get that right.
Well, thank you again, Atul.
Yeah, thank you. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
Yeah.